The alien girl's first lesson, the alien girl sat in the corner of the room, her sharp green eyes fixed on the human male in front of her. Her body was tense. Her claws were half out. Her name was Virella, and she came from the warlike planet, Zarnus, where males were dangerous and mating meant death for the female. But here on Earth, things were strange. The human male's name was Jake. He was young, strong, and tall, with short black hair and kind brown eyes. He didn't act like the males she had been warned about. No growls, no dominance displays, no threats. Instead, he brought her food. "Here," Jake said gently, placing a warm plate on the table. "I don't know if you eat meat or veggies. I made both." Virella didn't move. Her black tongue flicked nervously between her lips. Her people had told her stories about males offering food before the attack. It was part of the trap. First kindness, then sharp teeth. She stared at the food. It smelled good, warm, soft. No poison, no blood. Jake sat across from her with a friendly smile. He didn't show his teeth like a predator, just a calm smile that confused her even more. "You're safe here," he said. "No one's going to hurt you." Safe? What did that word mean on Earth? On Zarnus, the only time a female was safe was when she was alone. Jake picked up his fork and began to eat. He didn't force her, didn't stare, just ate slowly, letting her watch. Virella's stomach growled. She hadn't eaten since landing on Earth 2 days ago. Her people had sent her as part of a peace exchange between their race and the humans, but she didn't trust them, and she definitely didn't trust this strange male. Still, hunger was stronger than fear. She crept forward, slowly, like a shadow. Her long legs moved with grace. Her claws touched the edge of the table. Jake said nothing. He simply nodded once, then looked away. That made her relax a little. She picked up the meat. It was hot, juicy, spiced. She sniffed it once, then took a bite. The flavor exploded in her mouth, her eyes widened. This wasn't poison, it was delicious. She ate more, faster now. Her hands moved quickly, grabbing vegetables and bread, chewing quickly but never letting her eyes off Jake. He chuckled softly. "You're going to get a stomachache if you eat that fast." Virella froze. Was that a warning? A soft threat? Her claws came out slightly. Jake raised both hands. Hey, no harm meant. Just trying to help." Virella didn't reply. She wasn't ready for words yet. She didn't trust words. Jake leaned back in his chair. "You don't have to be afraid. Not here. Not with me." She blinked. How many times had she heard that on her home planet? And how many females believed it, just before being attacked? But Jake's body language was different. His hands stayed low, no growls, no sharp teeth, just calmness. Virella finally spoke. "Why, are you feeding me?" Jake looked surprised. "Why wouldn't I?" She narrowed her eyes. "Males don't give without wanting something. On my world, food means claim." Jake nodded slowly. "I understand, but here, feeding someone means kindness. It means you care." She tilted her head. "Care? Why would you care?" He smiled again. "Because you're alone. Because you're far from home. And because maybe you just need a friend." A friend. That word felt foreign on her tongue. She had no friends. Only rivals. She looked down at her empty plate. Her hunger was gone. But something else was now growing inside her. A question. A tiny doubt. Was everything her people told her wrong? Suddenly, a loud noise outside made her jump. A dog barked. A car horn honked. Virella hissed and moved back quickly, claws raised. Jake stood up too, hands up. "It's okay," he said. "Just a dog, no danger." She breathed hard. Her instincts screamed at her to flee. But Jake didn't move toward her. He didn't try to touch her. He stayed back. Slowly, she lowered her claws. For the first time, She didn't feel like prey. She sat back down, looked at Jake. Do all human males act like this? She asked. He shrugged. Some are bad, but most? No. We don't eat our mates. That would be insane. She stared at him. His words echoed in her mind like thunder. Don't eat your mates. On Zarnus, that was a joke, a lie, a dream. But here, maybe it was truth. And so began the alien girl's first lesson. Not in language, not in science, but in something her world never taught her. Trust. Her mother's warning, Virella sat alone in the quiet human home, staring at the empty plate. Her stomach was full, but her heart was confused. She had eaten human food. The human male, Jake, had not attacked her. He smiled, spoke gently, and kept his distance. Nothing made sense. And that's when the memory came rushing back. She closed her eyes, and suddenly she was no longer in Jake's house. She was back on Zarnus, deep in the metal caves of her clan. The air was thick with heat and fear. She was young, just a child, but her training had already begun. Her mother, Vraxi, stood tall and strong, her voice like fire. Listen to me, daughter, her mother growled. One day, you will be sent to another world. You may see males who look kind, who smile, who laugh, but never forget what they really are. Little Virella had nodded, eyes wide. What are they, mother? Hunters, her mother hissed. Hunters who wear soft skin and fake faces. Males offer food with one hand and strike with the other. Her mother stepped closer. Her claw touched Virella's chest. If you forget this, you die. Just like your sister did. That memory cut deep. Virella's sister had trusted a male once. They found her torn apart, her scent full of betrayal. Never let a male too close, her mother had said. Even if he gives you warmth. Even if he says he cares. Especially then. In the memory, her mother leaned close and whispered the most important rule. Kindness is the sharpest trap. Virella opened her eyes and looked around the room. It was warm, safe, too safe. Jake had offered kindness. He gave her food, space, smiles, everything her mother warned her about. Was she being tricked? She stood up quietly and began exploring the house. Her long feet moved silently. She touched the walls. Simple. No weapons. No cages. Then she stopped near a bookshelf. Pictures sat on it. Small paper images, frozen in time. One photo showed Jake with an older woman. Another had him holding a strange creature, soft, furry, with big eyes. She blinked. She had never seen such pictures before. Why keep memories outside the mind? Another picture showed Jake smiling with a female. Not hurting her. Just standing close, both laughing. Her chest tightened. What did this mean? She turned as Jake entered the room holding a steaming cup. I made tea, he said. Want to try some? She stared at the cup. Is it poisoned? She asked. Jake looked surprised but didn't laugh. No. But if you don't trust me yet, I understand. I'll drink first. He sipped from the cup. Virella didn't move. Jake sat down nearby. You remembered something, didn't you? She didn't answer. Someone told you humans are dangerous. Still silence. Jake placed the cup on the table. I don't know what they told you, but I won't hurt you. Her voice was cold now. My mother said kindness is a trap. Jake nodded slowly. Maybe it is, if it comes from the wrong person. She looked at him. Are you the wrong person? Jake met her gaze. Calm. Honest. No fear. I don't know. That's for you to decide. Virella narrowed her eyes. Her mother's words clashed with what she saw now. Where were his claws? His rage? His bite? He looked like no male from her world, yet her mother's voice whispered in her mind. The bite comes when your guard is down. She stepped back. Jake stayed seated. I won't follow, he said. If you need space, take it. She watched. Him for a long time. No movement, no tricks. Finally, she said in a low voice, "You are strange." Jake smiled. "You're not the first one to say that." She blinked. His answer was not an insult, not a threat. On Zarnus, this would start a fight. Here, it ended with a soft laugh. Virella turned away, but inside, something was changing. A question was growing. What if her mother was wrong? Or worse, what if everything she was taught was a lie? The first touch, Jake worked in the garden, digging through the dirt with his gloved hands. Sunlight touched his face, and small birds sang from the trees nearby. He didn't look back at the alien girl standing in the doorway. He knew she was watching. Virella stood still, her arms crossed. Her black eyes followed every move he made. She had not run. She had not attacked. But she had also not relaxed. She didn't understand why this human kept doing things that didn't benefit him. He gave her food, space, warmth. Now he was planting strange green things in the ground. For what? Are you hiding weapons? She finally asked. Jake chuckled softly. No, just tomatoes. She narrowed her eyes. What are those? Red, food, he said, smiling. Sweet, good with salt. She stepped outside slowly. The sun on her skin felt strange. Earth's light was softer than the twin suns of Zarnus. She didn't like that she felt calm. She walked toward him, claws tucked in but her muscles ready. Jake stood and offered her a small tool. Want to help? She looked at it like it might explode. Why? Because I thought you might want to touch something that grows. She didn't take the tool, but she knelt beside him. Close, but not too close. Jake started digging again. Virella watched his hands. They were rough, strong, but not deadly. No scars. No blood. Then a moment happened. Jake leaned forward and his hand accidentally brushed hers. Her whole body froze. It was like fire and ice hit her skin. Her claws flashed out on instinct. Her breath caught in her throat. Jake pulled back fast. Sorry, he said. That was an accident. She stood quickly and backed away. Her heart was pounding. She stared at her hand as if expecting it to bleed. You touched me, she whispered. Jake looked nervous now. Yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to. I didn't feel pain. Jake tilted his head. Should you? No attack. No sting. No poison. He nodded slowly. That's because I'm not trying to hurt you. Virella stared at her hand again. On Zarnus, the first touch was always a signal. The start of the game, the beginning of the end. Males touched to dominate. Females touched to strike. There was no kindness in contact. And yet, Jake's touch had been warm, soft, human. She looked at him again. Why don't you bite? Jake blinked. What? She stepped closer. You don't growl. You don't strike. You don't bite. You don't act like a male. Jake smiled, amused but gentle. Maybe human males are different. Very different, she said, still in shock. Jake sat down again and looked up at her. On Earth, touching someone can mean trust. It can mean comfort, or friendship, or even love. She frowned. We don't have those meanings for touch. Jake nodded. Maybe it's time you learned new ones. For a moment, she said nothing. The wind blew gently through the trees. Then she slowly sat down beside him again. Not close, but not far. Either. She picked up the digging tool and looked at the soft soil. How do I grow this? Tomato? Jake grinned. Here, let me show you. He placed a small red seed in her hand. She stared at it. It looked weak, tiny. From this, he said, a plant will rise. Something that feeds, grows from something so small? Exactly. She didn't know why, but she felt like that was important. Like the seed was more than just food, like it was her, broken, small, learning to grow. She placed the seed in the ground, gently covering it. Jake smiled. You're a natural. She didn't smile back, not yet, but she nodded once. For the first time she had touched a human male, and lived. No scars, no lies, no blood, just earth, and a tiny red seed. The mating season. Begins. Virella woke with a strange heat in her body. Her skin was sensitive, her breathing faster, her thoughts foggy. The air in Jake's home felt thicker than usual, like something heavy had settled over her. She blinked at the ceiling. The soft human blanket tangled around her legs. She wasn't used to sleeping without armor. She wasn't used to sleeping near anyone, but this earth house felt safer than the metal caves of Zarnus. Too safe. She sat up and placed a hand over her chest. Her heartbeat was too fast. Her body felt wrong, or maybe too right. Then she remembered. It was the season. On Zarnus, her species experienced the cycle, a short period when instincts took over. Emotions sharpened, strength increased, and mating urges boiled in every vein. Her mother had warned her. When the cycle comes, males grow wild, and females must be smarter, faster, deadlier. That is when they strike, or die. But here on Earth the cycle had started, and Jake was still calm, still kind, still human. Virella stumbled to her feet. Her skin burned, her blood rushed, and her senses went sharp. She smelled the morning wind. She heard birds in the trees. And below she heard Jake, humming. He was in the kitchen, cooking again, as if nothing had changed. Virella pressed herself against the wall and slid down until she sat on the floor. She hugged her knees. It's starting, she whispered to herself. Downstairs, Jake flipped, pancakes in a pan. He looked relaxed, wearing soft clothes and humming an earth song. He didn't know anything about alien mating seasons. He only knew Virella seemed quieter lately, and a little restless. When she entered the room, his smile faded a little. She looked different. Not in a bad way, just intense. Her eyes glowed more. Her movements were slower, but graceful, like a wild animal studying prey. He kept his distance. Morning, he said, handing her a plate of pancakes. She didn't touch them. Are you okay? She stared at him. I'm in the cycle. He blinked. What's that? Mating season, she said flatly. Jake dropped the spatula. She stepped closer. I should be hunting. Or hiding. But I don't want to hurt you. Jake raised his hands. No one's getting hurt, okay? She tilted her head, confused. Don't you feel it? Feel what? The tension. The heat. The pull. Jake looked even more lost. I mean, I like you. I care about you. But I'm not going to jump on you if that's what you mean. Her claws twitched. Not from anger, but confusion. You are resisting the cycle? Jake shook his head. I don't have a cycle. I'm human. If I like someone, I talk to them. I earn their trust. I don't bite. Virella stared at him. You're not afraid of me? No, he said calmly. I'm more afraid of burning the pancakes. She blinked. Then, for the first time, she laughed. It was a soft, strange sound from her throat. A laugh. She had never laughed before on her homeworld. Jake smiled. There it is. Your laugh. She covered her mouth. What was that? Something good, he said. The heat in her body didn't vanish, but it softened. The sharp edge of the cycle dulled just a little. Jake handed her a cup of cold water. Drink. You'll feel better. She took it, slowly, and she drank. The coolness helped. I don't understand you, she whispered. Jake shrugged. Most people don't. She looked at him, eyes softer now. On my world, the cycle means danger, death. Here, you offer me pancakes. Jake chuckled. Welcome to Earth. She walked to the window and looked out. Birds, trees, blue sky, and one human male who didn't try to own her, only understand her. For the first time, Varela didn't want to run from the cycle. She wanted to control it. Because if this was what mating season looked like on Earth, maybe, just maybe, she was ready to see where it led. She sees the truth. Varela sat on the porch steps, her sharp eyes watching the human town below. The streets were calm, no battles, no screaming, just laughter from a nearby park. She could see human children running through water sprinklers while parents watched peacefully. It was peaceful, too peaceful. Back on Zarnus, her people called this kind of peace a trap before betrayal, but now Varela wasn't so sure. She had been staying with Jake for nearly 3 weeks. He hadn't touched her without asking. He hadn't forced her to obey. He hadn't hunted her even during her mating cycle. Instead, he made her breakfast. He offered her stories. He listened when she asked strange questions. That was new. She had never been listened to before. This morning, Jake had gone out to get food. He invited her to come along, but she had said no. She needed time to think. The cycle inside her was fading. Her body was calm now. Her instincts, quiet. That scared her even more. "Why do I feel safe here?" she whispered. She stood up and walked down the road. Earth was soft under her feet. The sky had only one sun. The air didn't burn her lungs. She passed by a park and stopped. A human, male and female, were sitting close together on a bench. The female rested her head on the male's shoulder. The male gently stroked her hair. They smiled. Then he leaned down and kissed her forehead. Varela froze. She watched every movement like a warrior studying an enemy. No claws, she muttered. No blood. No bite. The female touched the male's face with both hands. He closed his eyes. She kissed his lips. He kissed her back, and they both laughed. Varela's heart beat fast. Why is she not afraid? On Zarnus, such closeness would end with blood, with death, with one eating the other. But here, it looked like something else. Connection, joy, trust. The human couple stood and walked away hand in hand. They didn't even look around for danger. They were unguarded. "They want to be close," Varela whispered. "And no one dies?" She sat on the bench they had left behind. Her claws stayed in. Her muscles relaxed. The memory of her mother's voice returned. "If a male touches you and you feel soft, it is weakness. Strike before you feel." But what if that voice was wrong? What if it wasn't weakness? What if it was strength? Later that day, Jake returned home carrying groceries in both hands. He kicked the door gently. "Varela, you home?" No answer. He stepped inside. The place was quiet. Then he saw her. She was sitting cross-legged in the middle of the living room floor, staring at the ceiling. Jake raised an eyebrow. Doing okay?" She nodded once. "I watched humans today," she said slowly. "Oh?" "I saw them touch each other, kiss each other. No blood, no fight." Jake smiled. "Yeah, that's how love works around here." She looked up at him. Her eyes were filled with something new. Pain, realization, and sorrow. "My people lied to me." Jake didn't respond. He let her speak. "They said males are danger, that closeness leads to death. That if I feel peace, I'm already losing." She looked at her hands. "But I don't feel danger when I'm near you. I feel still, like water without wind." Jake sat beside her. "That's not a bad thing." "No," she said softly. "It's beautiful and terrifying." He placed a bag of fruit beside her. "You're allowed to feel both." She looked at the apples, then at him. "I think I'm broken." Jake shook his head. "No, Varela. You're healing." She touched her own chest. "This hurts. But it's not pain." He nodded. "It's the truth." She looked into his eyes. "Then I want more of it." The confession: it was raining. Soft earth rain, not like the acid storms of Zarnus. Jake sat inside, near the window, sipping tea. He listened to the gentle drops tapping against the glass. It was peaceful, but he felt something building. Like the storm wasn't outside, but inside the house. Varela stood near the door, silent for a long time. She had changed. Not just her behavior. Her energy had shifted. She no longer jumped at every sound. Her claws stayed in. Her eyes still watched. Everything, but with wonder, not fear. And tonight, she was ready. "Jake?" she said, her voice low. He turned to her. "Yeah?" She walked closer but didn't sit. Her hands were clenched, her shoulders tense. "I have something to say, but I don't know how to say it in human words." "Jake," place the cup down. "Then say it in your way, I'll listen." Varela took a deep breath, then slowly sat across from him. "I was taught that mating means death, that males are selfish, that if you feel soft you will be destroyed." Jake nodded once. He'd heard parts of this before, but when I met you, she continued, you fed me and didn't claim me. You touched me and didn't hurt me. You smiled and didn't demand anything. She looked down. Her voice cracked. I waited every day for your trap, for the moment you would turn. Jake's voice was gentle. And I never did? No, she said. You didn't. She raised her eyes and Jake saw something raw in them. Fear, regret, hope. I think I started to trust you, and that scared me more than any weapon. Jake leaned forward just a little. Why? Because if my people were wrong about you, then they were wrong about everything. About love, about bonding, about peace. She placed a hand on her chest. And if that is true, then I have no home left. No beliefs. Nothing real. Jake's reply came like a whisper. Then let's build something real, right here. Varela blinked. You want me to stay? He smiled. Only if you choose to. She laughed softly. Where I come from, no one gives you a choice. Jake stood and offered her his hand. Welcome to Earth. She looked at it, a simple gesture, a hand offered, not forced. Slowly, she placed her clawed fingers in his palm, their hands locked. Nothing burned. No pain, no betrayal, only warmth. Varela lowered her voice. There's one more thing. Jake tilted his head. Yeah? I feel drawn to you. Not just with mind, but with body. It's not just the cycle. It's something else. Jake's smile faded slightly, replaced by a deeper look, one of respect. You're not alone in that, he said. She stared. You feel it too? Jake nodded. Yes, but I never pushed, because trust comes before touch. Varela exhaled like she had held her breath for weeks. She stood, walked around the table, and sat beside him. Close this time. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I was ready to die during the cycle. I had already accepted that fate. She looked into his eyes. But instead of death, I found safety. And something I thought didn't exist. Jake whispered. What? Varela placed her forehead against his. Gentleness. For her, it was more powerful than any weapon, and far more dangerous because it made her feel a new kind of bond. The air was still. The storm had passed. Varela sat beside Jake on the porch steps, wrapped in one of his large earth blankets. Her head rested against his shoulder, her black eyes staring out at the quiet sky. Stars were visible tonight, bright, unfamiliar constellations she hadn't learned yet. But tonight, she didn't care about stars. She cared about something much smaller and much bigger. Him. Jake didn't speak. He simply let her be close, his arm around her shoulders, the way human males showed comfort. It had been one full cycle since she had landed on Earth, one cycle since she was trained to expect betrayal. And now, everything had changed. Suddenly, a sharp buzz broke the silence. Varela's eyes flashed, she sat upright. Jake looked confused, but she stood up fast, her body tense. That sound, she said. It's Zarnian frequency. Jake stood beside her. Your people? She nodded. They're here. Within minutes, a dark ship broke through the clouds and landed just beyond the trees behind the house. It was sleek and curved like a serpent, glowing with green lights. Varela stepped forward. Jake grabbed her hand. You sure about this? He asked. No, she said. But I need to face them. She walked toward the ship barefoot on wet grass, not caring how her claws sunk into the earth. The ship's door opened with a hiss. 3 armored Zarnian warriors stepped out, tall, sharp, all male, and behind them, an older female, Vraxi, Varela's mother. Her eyes burned with judgment. You survived, Vraxi said coldly. Varela bowed slightly. I did. Vraxi's voice was hard. You were meant to return after one cycle. Instead, you hid among the prey. Varela lifted her head. Humans are not prey. Vraxi's eyes narrowed. You have been infected by weakness. Jake took a step forward. She's not weak. She's just finally been allowed to breathe. The male warrior snarled, stepping between Jake and Varela. But Varela moved faster. Her claw extended just slightly toward her own people. Touch him, and I'll remind you what a Zarnian female can do. They hesitated. Vraxi's gaze shifted. You would protect a human after all you were taught? Yes, Varela said clearly, because all I was taught was fear. She stepped toward her mother. You trained me to survive. You told me males only take. That touch means pain. That love is a trick. She pointed at Jake. And yet, this male gave without asking. He listened. He respected. He did not claim. She looked into her mother's eyes. He gave me what you never did. Vraxi's face didn't move, but her eyes betrayed something, a flicker of doubt. He didn't break me, Mother, Varela said. He made me whole. The silence was thick, then one of the male warriors growled. She has been corrupted. We should take her back for purification. Varela didn't blink. I will not go. The warrior raised his weapon. Jake moved. He stepped in front of her. The gun pointed at his chest. No, Varela growled, stepping between them both. Lower it, she warned. The warrior hesitated but obeyed. Jake whispered, I'm not letting you stand alone. Varela's hand gripped his. Vraxi's voice finally softened. You would give up your place on Zarnus, your bloodline, your name? I would, Varela said, because this is what I choose. She looked at Jake. I choose trust. I choose peace. I choose him. For a long time, no one moved. Then Vraxi finally spoke again, but her voice was no longer sharp. And if your bond fails? If this male breaks you later? Varela smiled for the first time. Then I will break myself and rebuild, but I will never go back to fearing life. Her mother stared, and then, slowly, Vraxi nodded. I came to bring back a soldier, but I found something else. She turned and looked at Jake. Human, take care of her. If you fail, we will come again. Jake nodded calmly. You won't have to. The 3 warriors stepped back. Vraxi gave a quiet signal. The ship's door opened again. But before she entered, she looked back at her daughter. Her voice was low. You were always the strongest one. Then the ship rose into the clouds and vanished. Varela stood silent in the field. Her legs felt weak. Jake caught her as she stumbled. You okay? He asked. I don't know, she whispered. I just stood against my people. You stood for yourself, Jake corrected. She leaned into his chest. I'm scared. He wrapped his arms around her. It's okay to be scared. Just don't run from it. Varela closed her eyes. For the first time, she wasn't running. That night, they didn't speak much. She sat near the fire Jake had built, her hand resting in his. His heartbeat was steady, and hers was starting to match it. She looked at him. I don't know how to do this. Jake smiled. Neither do I. We'll learn together. She laughed softly. Her claws touched his fingers gently, not to test him, not to strike, just to connect. He didn't pull away. Will you always be like this? She asked. Like what? Gentle. Jake thought for a moment. Only if that's what you need. She leaned forward and kissed his cheek. Soft. Silent. Safe. This, she thought, is the kind of bond they never taught me to fight for. Months later, Virella stood in front of a classroom filled with young aliens, refugees from many war-torn worlds. Her story had spread. An alien female who lived peacefully with a human male, who bonded not through battle but trust. She spoke calmly now, with warmth. There is another way, she told them. Another path. It is harder. It requires bravery. But not the kind that draws blood. A small alien child raised a hand. Did you really fall in love with a human? Virella smiled. I didn't fall, she said. I chose.